Sadhana Panchakam. We'll do lead and repeat style for both and then chant both verses together, and then we'll get into today's topic. So with that, Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Vidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All right, so let's do lead and repeat for verse number 1. Vedo nityam adhiyatam tadudidam karma svanushtiyatam tadudidam karma tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papogaf paridhuyatam bhavasukhe doshonusandhiyatam atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam. So now let's also look at verse number 2, and then we'll come back and chant both together. So verse number 2 starts with Sangat Satsu Vidhiyatam Bhagavato Bhaktir Dridadhiyatam Shantyadif Parichiyatam Dridataram Karmashu Santyajyatam Sadvidvanupasripyatam. So that one is Sadvidvanupasripyatam. So Sadvidvanupasripyatam. One more time. Sadvidvanupasripyatam. Pratidinam Tatpaduka Sevyatam Brahmaikaksharamardhyatam Brahmaikaksharamardhyatam Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Okay, so now we shall chant continuously both verses. Vedo nityam adhiyatam taduditam karma svanushtiyatam tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papogaf paridhuyatam bhavasukhe doshonusandhiyatam Atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam sangat satsu vidhiyatam bhagavato bhaktir dridhadhiyatam shantyadif parichiyatam dridataram karmashu santyajyatam sadvidvanupasripyatam pratidhinam tatpaduka sevyatam brahmaikaksharamardhyatam shrutishiro vakyam samakarnyatam. Those are long lines. So a couple of them, because you combine all of these words, they become tongue twisters. But it's good practice. So with this, we had seen from the beginning, there was only one instructions for brahmacharya ashrama. Vedo nityam adhiyatam. May I study the Shastras well. Anytime I'm lacking in clarity, may I go and learn it. Then for grihastha ashrama, may I take those learnings in such a way that I perform it to perfection. No matter where I am, varna, ashrama, whatever responsibilities I find myself in, sometimes we don't choose the responsibility, it finds us. Wherever I am, may I do it justice. May I perform it to perfection. While I'm performing it, may my attitude behind those actions be in such a way that I start dedicating it to a higher altar. Again, I'm bringing back that definition from assembly. Karma yoga is the selfless actions dedicated to a higher altar. Whatever it is I do, everything from eating, sleeping, walking, talking, serving, cooking, taking care of my kids, being an excellent leader in the community, whatever it may be, may I do it in such a way that, Bhagwan, this is for you. That attitude will help me undo the ego's attachment to its own survival. Ego's attachment to its own survival. This is me. This is what I stand for. This is what my worth is. I exist because I want to enjoy. I like this, I don't like that. Therefore, I shall rearrange my entire surrounding so that my ego is always pleased. That has to be undone. May I do the actions not for my ego's sake, but for Bhagwan's sake. Recently, I just seen a poem, I don't know what to call it, but a poem by Kabir Das ji. He says, I'll translate it. Hindi is not my forte, but the translation of this is, in the prema gali, in the alleyway of bhakti, sankari hai, meaning that it's very narrow. Bhakti is not this vastness that we're talking about. It is a very small sliver of space. जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, तब हरि है मैं नहीं. So in that small space, there's only enough space for one. Either me, my ego, or Bhagwan. There's not enough space for both. This goes to show that when I'm performing my actions, it can be either for my ego's sake or Bhagwan's sake. Let my ego not become, tricky and manipulative, saying, yeah, I can serve myself and Bhagwan. Either it's for me or it's for Bhagwan. There's not enough space for both. This is the path of bhakti. Why is it that I have to continue performing like this? So that at the end, I may come to understand the reality of this world. My happiness is not out there. I have to find it somewhere else. I have to find it within. Whenever we look at our Shastras, they always say, turn within, don't be extroverted, become introvert. Not in today's psychology. Turn inwards. That is a source of happiness. Why am I getting so distracted by the world outside? If that true conviction comes out, I've performed my duties day in, day out with the right kind of attitude, I will come to this realization, happiness is not out there. It's within. I have to find that source. Therefore, the culmination of grahastha ashrama is atma ichha vyavasiyatam. Nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam. I realize that my source is within. I don't need the world anymore. Therefore, like that, I will give it up. I don't need it. Let me find that true source within. Atma Ichha is all I want. This is the experience of Grahastha Ashrama done well. Grahastha Ashrama is not to enjoy. We think, okay, now I get to get married and enjoy all of the desires I have. This is what this ashram is meant for. In fact, it's not the fulfillment of desires, but the exhaustion of desires. Let me not give in to them, but grow out of them. That is the true purpose of Grahastha. Then comes Vanaprastha. That we see the beginning as, in verse number 2, is the beginning of the duties of Vanaprastha. Sangaha satsu vidhiyatam. May I hold on to those that have walked this path of Atma Ichha further along than where I am. I've just started this path. What are they doing? What are they like? How are they behaving? What inspires them? May I look to them as my role models to keep that bhava alive, Atma Ichha. And once that inspiration is there, inspiration alone cannot be that. I have to back it up with my own self-effort. Where is that self-effort coming from? Bhagavato bhaktir drida dhiyatam. May my attachment to Bhagwan become stronger and stronger and stronger. Drida. Even that word has that weight to it. My bhakti may be drida, may be unshaken. That is the foundation from which I shall continue. Then we have Shantyadif Parichiyatam. Dridataram Karmashu Santyajyatam. This is now the main crux of what I have to be doing in Vanaprastha. We saw Shantyadif. Shantyadihi. One second. Shantyadihi. Again, Shanti here doesn't mean Om Shanti Shanti. Oh, peace, quiet. I shall go into meditation. Here it means Shama, Dama, Uparati, and Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana. We had seen these definitions very quickly in the last time we had class. Shama and Dhamma. This is how do I control myself? Shama, Dhamma. Either I can control myself from outward in, or Dhamma from inward out. So the example here is, can you hold your breath? Everyone try. Hold your breath. Now let it all out. Breathe in. Lift your right arm. Lower your left leg. This is just a funny experiment to see. Easy. Yeah, I don't even have to think twice about it. Controlling my limbs and my senses is far easier than controlling my mind. Don't think about that pink elephant wearing red shoes, swinging its trunk and waving its ears. What are you thinking about? That pink elephant. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. It's harder to control that. Therefore, you need both. Shama and Dhamma are like two sides of the same coin. When I have difficulty controlling my thoughts, may I leverage my senses. When I have ease of controlling my mind, may that flow through the senses itself. So for example, when we get angry, what is our breath like? Shallow, deep, fast, shallow and fast. But then I said, okay, I have to let go of this anger. I'll let it go. Then, okay, I'm going to be calm and quiet. What do? I'm going to be calm. What are we doing here? Leveraging something I can control easily to influence something that I can't control that easily. I use my breath to control my mind. This is the essence of pranayama. Pranayama is the leveraging the link between breathing and thoughts that help me keep it under control. Now, when this practice is put into place again and again and again, what becomes a natural default state of the mind? We see as uparati. So it's like that dog that, especially when they're in their puppy phase, they're like running around everywhere. No, sit, stand up, come back. You're constantly having to fight it and fuss with it to get it to learn how to behave. But over 2 years, 3 years, you really put in all that work, what will that dog do? It will listen. It will be disciplined, especially when you're walking the dog. When in the beginning you're walking, you constantly have to pull at that leash. No, don't go fast. Don't pull me. Come, stay. You have to walk by my side. After training is done, what will that dog naturally do? Right by your heel, won't take a step forward, won't take a step back. And what is that leash tension? Loose. The default state is it's at rest, in control. Mind has to become like that. That where its senses are withdrawn and it remains calm, quiet, without disturbance, and still until you give that next command. It's ready, it's alert, it's ready to go, but it's calm and quiet until it's told what to do. This is the quality of uparati. Shama dhamma is done to such perfection that it comes to uparati. Then with that, how am I to deal with the world outside? Titiksha. When you hear titiksha, I have to forbear this. Anything that comes into my mind, whether it's hot, cold, anger, happiness, praise, or censure. These 3 pairs relate to the 3 levels of equipment I have. Body is the physical aperture that it deals with, hot and cold. Then with the mind, we deal with emotions, anger or happiness. Then with the intellect, either it's praise or censure. Each of these dualities, how do I deal with them? Oh, it's so hot, turn on the fan. Oh, it's so cold, turn on the heater. Constantly fussing, there's no sense of calmness inside. But if we have that forbearance saying, it is what it is, I'm not going to die, things will be fine. If it's hot, it's hot. It's cold, I will be fine. This is the practice of titiksha. And as we saw in today's verse in chapter 5, that samadhana or samatvam and samadarshinaha. Similar idea being given here. No matter if they come to me with insults. Who do you think you are? You're no better than a dog. All these insults, that rage comes within. If I'm able to say, how does that affect me? It doesn't. I don't have to believe everything that comes to me. They can keep talking. I am undisturbed. That is titiksha as well. Then there are others that come that say, oh, you're so great. You need to teach me. You do things so well. I can't believe you do that. Even then, that has to be set aside saying, I don't need to be swept away by this. The greatest example I'd seen of this was in one of the letters that Puja Gurudev had responded, called Vedanta Through Letters. There's a book published there. There was one bhakta who said, Gurudev, what the heck are you doing in samsara? You go back to your kutia, we don't need you. Why have you left your kutia? I mean, when you read that question, I'm like, why is this question published in this book? This seems so offensive. But Puja Gurudev's response in that letter was beautiful. He said, I pray and bow down to you. Keep waving the black flag of criticism. And please keep away any praises altogether. It is the worst fear for a sadhaka. Why? Because compliments, praises build up the ego. Oh, that ego is so quick. We can say, no, I'm unaffected. But at the side, you're like, I'm kind of glad they gave me that compliment. It sinks in so fast. That builds up the ego, and that's opposite of what we're trying to do in sadhana. That criticism will keep my ego in check. May I gather them and bring them close. Let me keep that so that my ego shuts up and sits down. So keep waving the black flag of criticism so my ego may never raise its head up. This is how I deal with opposites. May I always remain balanced and never thrown off balance. The key to this is patience. Patience means I am willing to stay right here where things are. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I won't have the urge to run away from the current situation because it's not okay, because it's not perfect around me. Patience is, I'm okay being right here. Things don't affect me. I know where the long-term goal is. It's okay. You take your time. I will be here. Turn the script on its head. Where you wait for the world to change itself because you are that steadiness. That is the quality of patience that comes from, I can bear all the small pinpricks of life. There can be so many problems that have come to me. Know that I was meant to go through it. Each one of those is my lesson to learn. I'm not going to go anywhere. I will be right here to learn everything I need to. This is why I am not bothered. I'm okay with it all. Pujya Gurudev says, Titiksha is bearing the pairs of opposites with a smile. Not a fake one. Hee, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, things are good. Yeah, I have Titiksha. Not a fake smile. Not trying to convince ourselves we're okay, but to actually be okay. These are good things for me. This is testing my ego. I will always hold on to this samatvam. It will not shake me. And finally, what is my relationship with the Shastras? Titiksha is to the world outside. Shraddha is for the world within. Shraddha, we often say as blind faith. Guru said so, therefore it's done. Actually, that would be a great thing to do, but none of us can find ourselves naturally doing that quickly. Shastra said so, so I shall only live by its letter. Even that seems foolishness, and Pujya Gurudev criticizes people that blindly follow even Rig Vedas and our own Shastras. What is Shraddha here then? It is the understanding and appreciation that this Shastra is giving me the information I need. I trust it as the source, and I have seen Mahatmas who are the proof of what's being said in the Shastras. It will give me what it promises. But I will use my intellect to understand every nuance of what's being taught. I will thoroughly chew on every bit of information so that I may come to understand it with thoroughness. So Swamiji had once said, it is faith that I will come to understand what is being taught. The most important seva that we can do when we are with Guru or Guru in front of us is Pariprashnena sevayam. This comes from Gita. My seva to the Guru is to constantly ask questions out of faith that I will gain what I need. Not in a prove to me it's right, otherwise I won't follow. Not that kind of attitude. Bhagavan, show me this. I want to understand. That is the expression of Shraddha. Last week I wasn't here because I was in Chicago, part of the Women Seeker Camp. There's been a great book, if you can get your hands on it. It's an amazing book called Women Seeker. It showcases 18 different Rishikas, Mahatmas, women forms, but as women rishis, women bhaktas, and women leaders that presented from Sanatana Dharma. Honestly, it transcends gender, because the descriptions and historical references of each of those women shows the strength and power of Sanatana Dharma created in any individual. Particularly, one story that caught my eye was Devi Gargi. She was notorious for asking so many questions. I didn't know this. I had never heard of her before. And when I had said, who is this Gargi and what did she write? I looked up one of the Upanishads that she had written, and it's literally 100 different questions being asked. Who am I? You say I'm BMI. What is BMI? Then who is that source behind all of this? You say Paramatma is the source. Who is Paramatma? Who is Ishvara? Who is Maya? What is the three guna? A list of questions being asked. It is through her investigations that supreme reality was indicated. That is why she is known as one of the Rishikas, realized masters, because of all of the questions she asked. Each one of those questions is based off of Shraddha. So, through controlling and the senses and the mind, being able to forbear the outside dualities and having Shraddha within, where do I all come to? Samadhana. Samadhana, that mental concentration and focus. This is chitta ekagrataha. This is another word that's being used. Why is this important? Whenever you look at any of the Shastras in the introduction, they tell us when we are extroverted, We go through the mind, chase out through the senses. I need to taste these things. I need to see these things, hear these things, constantly rearranging the environment so that I'm in my comfort zone. It's exhausting. In fact, Puja Gurudev says we waste energy by trying to be extroverted. We waste energy over regrets of the past. We waste energy in the fervor of the present, and we waste energy through the anxieties of the future. So much energy is being wasted. You expect me to then sit in the seat of meditation and drop my ego and realize the self? Nah, you need a lot more energy within to be able to experience that highest. The samadhana is that culmination. Because I've turned my senses within, my mind has come to a resting point. The world no longer bothers me. I have shraddha in the direction I need to go through. The sense of quietude actually gathers energy. Only with this kind of stamina can I sit in the seat of meditation to reach that highest. Therefore, shama, dhamma, uparati, titiksha, shraddha, and samadhana become my greatest wealth in vanaprastha ashrama. So vanaprastha ashrama is not retirement, and it is not getting back into enjoying things. A lot of times we say, I'm done with my career, I get to go to enjoy my hobbies. That is again indulging back into the world. Vanaprastha is dedicated for, may my mind become this concentrated on Bhagwan with my bhakti, concentrated with this kind of self-control. Shantyadif parichiyatam, drida taram. May it be firm, because this is only upon the firmness of this wealth may I even be successful in attempting to become realized. Karmashu santyajyatam. This is the last bits of karma that we give up entirely. It is said that in sannyasa ashram, to really enter sannyasi, especially in what I've seen from within mission, is that they do their own antima samskara. That usually antima samskara is done because with your next generation. So you maintain that lineage and connection, and they therefore have the right to offer samadhi for your body and all of that. But in sannyasa, even that lineage I'm letting go of, there's nobody left. In fact, I'm the only one left to let go of myself. Therefore, antima samskara is done. Karmashu santyajyatam. All karmas and obligations are finished and completed and set aside. Now, from this point onwards, as a sannyasa, what are my obligations? This description now starts halfway through verse number 2. And it begins with Sadvidvan upasripyatam. Sadvidvan. Who is that? Sat Vidvan. Okay, yeah, it's the noble one. We saw that before. Sangha Satsu Vidhiyatam. We already saw this. Now we have come to the point that I want Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana. There requires a very unique and special guru that is qualified to give me this knowledge. So Sat Vidvan. Sat is that direct experience, not a intellectual knowledge. Someone who has actually experienced that reality. And Vidvan, who has that capacity to transmit that experience through the medium of words. They're able to communicate this. So in other words, there's another description given for a guru of this level. Shrotriya Brahma Nishtha. Shrotriya Brahma Nishtha. Now, sometimes when we use the word guru, we want to use it in every form. Anytime we've received knowledge, we say, you're my guru. Like, for example, music. There's a music guru, or there is arts guru, knowledge, engineering guru, project management guru. We tend to use that word a little too liberally. But here we're talking about Atma Jnana itself. So that guru has to be one who is Brahma Nishtha, established and has subjective personal experience of that state. Then he's also able to communicate that, Shrotriya. Now why is there 2 steps here? Why isn't one alone good enough? I think about a college professor. You either get good ones or bad ones in college. If you get the good ones, they have amazing experience and they invest themselves in trying to make sure the students do well. They give us homework, they give us quizzes, they give us assessments, feedback, and slowly guide the gaps in our understanding. They almost handhold us all the way to the finals. So by the time I get to final exam, it feels like I have no effort to be given because they've taken such good care of us throughout that semester. So on ratemyprofessors.com, they'll have great ratings on there. Who are the other kind of professors? They are out of this world. I don't understand anything they say once they get up there. The college or universities hired them because they're amazing in their field. They're experts in their field. They're on the brinks or edges of their field, creating new material and pushing the edge of knowledge at that point. So they are amazing. But when it comes to the classroom, I have no idea. They're so lost in their depths of knowledge that they're not able to connect with the students and bring them up to that level. So although I can't dismiss their expertise, they suck as a teacher and I have a problem. So in this way, both are required. I also can't enter an engineering class if I have no experience in engineering. I would be a fraud. So both are required at this point. That is why the definition is given as Shrotriya Brahmanishtha. Brahmanishtha says they have that experience because it is their own subjective experience. But at the same time, how can you indicate something that is beyond words in words? How do you do that? They need to have that expertise as well. Therefore, teaching is a skill that they also have. They've acquired it by the love for the student, love for the knowledge, love for transmission of that which cannot be said to be said in words. And they're able to handle the doubts and questions of every student. Every student has their own quirk, their own way of thinking. They have to be brought from wherever they are to that one final place. Only a guru has that nuance to know what is required for that student. So, Shrotriya also means that which comes from the Shrutis. And here specifically, it is the Upanishads. Upanishad is the formal presentation of that which cannot be said. Anirvachaniya is a word that is used to describe that reality. Anirvachaniya, it cannot be expressed in words, and yet the Shrutis, especially the Upanishad, will try to indicate that through the words. Those techniques are given. Guru has to be versed in those styles of explanation, therefore Shrotriya. Now, when it comes to the differences in styles, it reminds me of Gargi ji was the one that signifies through strict intellectual wrestling. You ask so many different questions, you ask for logic. Some are just naturally inclined to the intellectual way of analysis, but it's a conviction that brings them to that point. Then the opposite or a slightly different angle, I think about the gopis with Bhagwan Krishna. Have I told the story about Uddhavji visiting the gopis here? Maybe? No? Okay. If not, we can retell it again. Why not? So the gopis were amazing bhaktas. That their love and devotion for Bhagavan Krishna is without bounds. Literally have transcended all bounds. And we see this when Uddhavji started to ask about them. Uddhavji, when he was hanging out with Bhagavan Krishna, would say, the whole world thinks about you. Who do you think about? He said, I think about the gopis. He said, why? They're illiterate, village women. What's so great about them? Why are you thinking about them the most? He said, there are no words to explain them. You have to go and meet them. So you go to the village, go meet them, and you'll know why I think about them so much. Uddhavji happened to look like Bhagavan Krishna. He has the same physical form, the same darkness in his skin color. So imagine like a movie scene. He's driving to the village with the sunset behind him, and what do the gopis see? Just a silhouette of someone coming. And they get all excited. Bhagavan Krishna's coming back. If you look at Bhagavatam, Bhagavan Krishna never comes back to the same place twice. So the gopis got excited saying, has he truly broken that rule and coming back to us? And they left their pots and pans, they left their children, they left the cows, they brought whatever they had, the garland, diya for arti, flowers, they brought everything. And it is also known that gopis were always immaculately dressed. Why? Because they kept anticipating that Bhagavan would come to them again that day. In hopes of seeing Bhagavan, they were always remained ready. So they were ready with everything that they had. They were about to garland that figure and they dropped the garland. Why? It's not Bhagavan Krishna. It's Uddhavji. And one of the gopis was so mad, so jealous, that out of respect, there's a guest, so finally one of them put a garland, but they knew it wasn't Bhagavan Krishna. One of the gopis had so much jealousy that she started talking to one of the bees that kept buzzing around the flowers on that garland. And she said, you bee, why do you make me so jealous? Are you here just to taunt me? You get to hang around the flowers that hang on Bhagavan Krishna's neck. You get to be very close to Bhagavan. Are you taunting me right now that I'm separated from my Bhagavan Krishna? What is she really doing? She's talking to Uddhavji through that bee. Uddhavji, you get to be around Bhagavan Krishna. You came here teasing us. You get to be around him and we don't. How dare you? A very sweet dialogue between them. This comes from Brahmara Gita. Brahmara means bee. So this is the Gita or Upadesha given because of the dialogue between Uddhavji and the gopis. So Uddhavji spent a couple of months and said, no, you don't need to feel so sorrowful for your separation from Bhagavan. I will teach you Jnana Yoga. Come sit. I will teach you Jnana Yoga. These gopis said, all right, we have to entertain the guest. The guest wants to do this. Fine, we'll entertain him. So Uddhavji told them, in the seat of meditation, drop the mind, drop the ego, drop samsara, and drop that sorrow that you feel. Drop the mind. The gopis all looked at each other saying, is this guy crazy or what? They told Uddhavji, with what mind am I supposed to drop the mind? My mind left the day Bhagavan Krishna left this village. My mind is there. I have no mind here. What mind are you speaking of? In that simple sentence it showed they had Atma Jnana right then and there. Their bhakti was so pure that it helped them transcend the very limitations. They were merged with Bhagavan at all moments. So Uddhavji was put in his place. He then realized the greatness of these gopis. Through their bhakti, they were Mahatmas themselves. This is why Bhagavan was thinking about these gopis so much. These Mahatmas are priyam to Bhagavan. So my point in telling this story is that you have people like Gargi and Maitreyi and these amazing rishis that are battling intellectually to discover the very source of reality. And you have bhaktas like gopis that found it through their bhava. So it doesn't matter how we find Bhagavan, but the point is, am I ready to give up all that which blocks me from that reality? If that bhava is there, the Guru will come finding us and giving us exactly what we need when we need it. We have, if you look through any of our Puranas and Itihasas, there are so many different forms of Gurus that come. You have Kapil Mahadev, who was the son, who was the Guru for his own mother. Then as we saw the presentation from the 3rd grade class today, they're learning about Dattatreya. He was one who had dropped all things, was even Digambara, and would walk around all of the villages, forests, wherever he went. He saw Guru in everything. The Guru in space, Guru in water, Guru in a falcon, Guru in even the snake and python. So throughout our Puranas, Itihasas, there's no lack of guidance or the form of Guru who is Shrotriya and Brahmanishta. So we think to ourselves, do I need to go shopping for a Guru? The answer is no. Because the quality of a Guru is someone, Guru, the one who removes darkness of ignorance. So the ignorant cannot go demanding for a Guru. Guru knows when the ignorant need a Guru. The other example that I think of is, Swami Sarveshwaraji had a really good Hindi explanation or definition for Guru. Hamesha gurrata hai. Meaning the guru is one who constantly picks at the student, constantly nagging and nitpicking. And you think, what kind of guru is that? I don't want a guru who's constantly annoying. But if you have a guru that appeases you all the time, oh, you don't want to get up, don't get up. You want the chocolate, have chocolate. You want to have this or that, go ahead. If you have a guru that's too nice, know that that's not a real guru. Because the true intention of a guru is to make us come out in our full potential. This is like the sculptor who finds a rock. The rock doesn't even know what it has within him. Guru or the sculptor can see that murti waiting inside, ready to come out. So in order to bring that idol from within, what do they do? Take a giant hammer first and start knocking the big pieces that is blocking that image. So guru is hamesha gurrate hai because they're removing those obstacles from the reality of who we are. Then it gets even worse. After the big hammer, what's the next tool he takes? The smaller chisel and hammer. And really gets into the nooks and crannies of our own ego. The real depths of our ego, pride, jealousy, anger, attachment. He starts going into the real nuances of it. Even the biggest warning we have on this path is that sattvic ego. I am humble. I am the sattva. I am the greatest sadhaka. That is the biggest ego that sits there blocking us from our own reality. And finally, the sculptor takes even rougher instruments. What's the last instrument he takes? The sandpaper. You think you were done. It's not done until he pulls out that sandpaper. So that guru, until that last moment, that last traces of the ego that remains, he will move it out of the way. And so even Puja Gurudev, when he was speaking about his own guru, Swami Tapovan Maharaj Ji, he said, he is that guru that took me to the edge and he took me beyond. He pushed me into the beyond. A guru is such that invests that much love and compassion to bring the greatness out of us. Now, some people may argue saying, I don't need a guru. I mean, if it's information, I can get it anywhere. And the worst thing is when our own chicks come, like I have class on Saturday, one of the chicks said, I chat GPT'd the questions I had. Yo, I know asking questions is a seva, but ask to the right source. Chat GPT, I kid you not, pulls its sources from where? Wikipedia. And I was just researching into what goes on behind Wikipedia, who controls it, who edits it. Is it really such an open source platform that it advertises itself to be? It is not. I have now become very wary of Wikipedia because there's enough narratives that are being built into what it presents, especially about Hinduism. So that cannot be my source of answering Atma Jnana. And some even say, okay, fine, even if not that, I will read through books. I will read through translations that are there. Pick up any shastras. I know every single mantra. I don't need a guru. Even then, that internet, that Google, that book isn't there to help guide us. It doesn't know the nuances of my own personality. If the whole point of Sadvidvan upasripyatam pratidinam tatpaduka sevyatam, that whole process of surrendering to the Guru, to serve the Guru at all times, is to bust that ego. Will Google bust my ego? Will an article that I found on some blog site or some podcast, will that bust my ego? I need a guru who can get his hands into my own psyche and help me remove my own ego. Now, one other comment is, we think that we can access the meanings and depths of the Upanishad by reading any translation. Even, and when we look at English translations of our Shastras, most of it can be traced back to the German interpreter called Max Muller. We've heard of his name? We think he is a relatively good source for English translation of our Vedas. He is not a good source. It is assumed that he was a scholar of Indic studies. That's how we've given him the title. But if you look into his education, even within his own European systems, he was a dropout. He didn't even complete his own education. When he came to India, he was just dabbling and messing around with Vyakarana. Just, picked up enough words here and there to say that he can read Sanskritam, but all of it is completely botched. How can my understanding of Shastras be from someone who doesn't even know how to read Sanskritam? In his own words, I found a quote. After all of his messing around with the translation of Shastras, he said, the Vedas and Upanishads are prattlings of human beings in their early infancy. Vedas and Upanishads are prattlings? The Vedas that give us all sciences of the world outside, enough that they even knew how to do embryonic surgery before the Europeans could even figure out sanitation systems. The same Vedas and Upanishad that tells us the very reality and source of this universe as that Paramatma, Ishvara, tells us what is the relationship through the ideas of Maya, can explain multiverses, can explain time, can explain karma yoga, can explain why someone is born in one birth with certain defects and another individual is born with wealth and prosperity without even trying. A holistic system he describes as prattlings of a human in their early infancy. My reaction, how dare you? How dare you translate and misappropriate my Shastras to such arrogance? I won't take him as my source then. And therefore this bhava now comes within me that I want to learn Sanskritam in its true form. May I learn to speak the original language as it was meant to. On one of my bucket lists is I want to go visit that village in India that speaks Sanskritam as a spoken language. They don't speak any other language there. I want to go experience that. I hope we protect it and keep it safe so that that may never be doused. And may I have that courage to learn Sanskritam the way it was supposed to be taught. May I have access to my own knowledge system that is waiting for me to discover its depths. So some of that history, we have to undo its effects on ourselves. May I not be lazy to just Google this and find Max Muller's translations and say, yeah, I have access. I kind of generally know what's in Vedas. We don't. May I learn the language. May I ask for a guru who can guide. And I have to say that we are privileged that at least we have a Mahatma within our reach. Puja Gurudev and all of his works is worthy of being studied. May I not be distracted by whatever gets shown online. May I have that Shraddha and dedication to stick to Puja Gurudev's translations. May I stick to the principles he gives in every one of his commentary. May I chalk out time to continually be dedicated to his teachings. I don't need to go shopping for a guru. Guru has already come without even me asking. He's already here. So may my surrender to that guru allow me to crack this ego. May it never be pampered. May it continually to get rid of his I notion. And may I come to be a worthy enough student that is qualified for that Atma Jnana. So, sadvidvan upasripyatam pratidinam tatpadaka sevyatam. Pratidinam. May I never let a moment go without ever surrendering myself to that guru, because no one else will take me out of the samsara. He is described as that saving boat that carries me across the stormy waters of samsara to bring me to the other side of perfection itself. Only Guru can do that. May I therefore ever pray, ever surrender, that may His grace continually bless me on my own journey. May I become worthy to become His student. Once He sees that we are ready, Bhagwan in the form of Guru will then give Upadesha and give us the knowledge that we need. Starting from the last line of verse number 2 all the way through the end of Sadhana Panchakam, we will see what it takes to start becoming identified with that reality. Starting with Brahmaikakshara Martyatam. Brahma Eka akshara. That one word called Brahman, what is that? Artha, the meaning of that word is then given. Shruti Shiro Vakyam. The greatest portions of the Shruti, what are the Vakyam, the statements that are being said? Samakarnyatam. May I listen to that well. Samyak akaranam. So now begins the state of Shravanam. So we will see 3 steps. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Then what is the state of realization? These 4 things we shall see in the rest of these verses that are coming up. So fair warning, next time I come in class, we have to go into the deep end of that reality itself. We'll have to start looking at what is the definition of Brahman. When we say Mahavakya is like Tattvam Asi, what are we speaking of? So we're going to have to go into some of the, right now in our state of understanding, the dry parts of Vedanta, but it will continue to help us understand what is that goal that I'm really going for. This is sopana, meaning stepwise progression in our search for that realization. We're about halfway now in this evolution. So next week we shall see Brahmaikakshara Martyatam Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. So we'll begin with that next time. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Again, I think it was first and